Hello, Cyrus here. I totally didn't put on a hat to make it seem like I recorded this at a different time than the Hellraiser ranking, and I'm here to rank another franchise that was with Dimension for the 90s, Halloween. Am I a bit late to the party with ranking this franchise? Yup. I don't care. I rewatched all of these movies, and frankly, I was shocked at my reaction to the movies because I'm gonna be honest, I can list the number of Halloween movies I've watched in the past 3 years on one hand, apart from this most recent rewatch, because when 2018 came out, I watched all of them. When Halloween Kills came out, I did not, because I knew Ends was going to come out, so I didn't want to watch every movie again twice. Because, spoiler alert, this is not my favorite franchise in the world. And literally, from the minute I watched said movie till the moment I rewatched them all, I assumed my last place was the same movie for years. In fact, I would say that it was the worst movie of any major horror franchise in existence, and I was adamant about it. I fucking hated the movie, and now it's not even in the bottom three because of this most recent rewatch. So this ranking is going to be crazy. You're not going to expect it, even if you've seen my comments on other videos about Halloween. Now, the movies I've watched between 2019 and before this most recent rewatch were the first movie, 2018, 3, and H2O, but not all of it. And trust me, that's not going to spoil the ranking at all. It's literally just, and obviously Kills, but it's literally just because of the timelines and what I happened to walk into the room while they were watching it. Every other movie, the last time I saw them was 2018, and I went into them expecting to feel similar to how I did in 2018, and in this most recent rewatch, quite a few of these movies completely shifted in my opinion, and honestly, I'm more surprised than you will be at my ranking. But without further ado, 13th place, and I've only seen this movie once, Halloween Ends. It could shift. Fuck you! Okay. Now that that's out of my system, let me explain before you just go, oh, you just don't like new things. Trust me, once you get through the rest of my ranking, you'll know I have no problem with changing the formula at all. There's a difference between completely changing the formula when your story's over and setting up a trilogy, making people expect it to be a trilogy, marketing it as all leading to one thing, and then on the third movie, delivering something that is completely fucking different. Halloween Ends takes a note. Like, I feel like Halloween 2018 is supposed to be a ripoff of the first movie, Halloween Kills is supposed to be a ripoff of the second movie, and Halloween Ends is supposed to be a ripoff of the third movie. Think about it for a second. Halloween 1 and Halloween 2018 go hand in hand. They're, like, basically the same. Then you get to Halloween 2. Laurie's in the hospital the whole fucking time. It's just like a Friday the 13th movie with kill after kill, only Halloween Kills has less merit than any Friday the 13th or Halloween 2, but we'll get into that later. Then you get to the Halloween 3, and Halloween Ends should have fucking not done what it did. Halloween 3 came after the story was over. Halloween Ends didn't. Halloween 3 was a separate universe, completely separate from Michael Myers. Halloween Ends isn't. And it still decided, you know what would be great? this whole third movie that we completely marketed as a sequel to our other 2 movies, we marketed it as Laurie versus Michael. You know what would be great is if we completely just did something completely different for like 98% of the movie, and the last 2% of the movie was what we marketed it as, and then some dumb shit. What the fuck? If you like this movie, please don't explain it to me in the comments, because I don't care. Honestly, like, I'm sorry, but like, literally, we're on our 13th movie, and even if you're those people that don't bother to give a fuck about anything in regards to this fucking, like, the franchise's history, is just, oh, think of it only as in this timeline. Even then, we're 4 movies in, and on the 4th movie, you're like, okay, the story we built up in the first 3 movies, fuck that entirely. Here's some other bullshit you don't care about. They literally nerf Michael. They like, okay, let me just clean the slate. Let me just explain to you the plot of this movie from my perspective, only stating facts, not even opinions. I'm just going to state facts here. In Halloween 2018, Laurie Strode was 40 years removed from an incident that killed 3 of her friends and was completely fucking crazy and plotting a fucking vengeance on a guy that was locked in an insane asylum for 40 fucking years who was never gonna get out. And she was fucking gone to the point where it emotionally destroyed her entire family, where she was disconnected from everyone. Everyone didn't want to be around her because she was destroyed from it. Then, Michael breaks out, kills over 40 people in one night, times 10 the amount he killed back in 78. Then, kills Laurie's fucking daughter. I'm not done. Then, they have the dumbass audacity to tell us Michael gets more powerful the more he kills, even though, like, the way Laurie explains it doesn't make any fucking sense, because she's assuming Michael's coming after her when he isn't. So why should we take her word for it when she just assumes he gets more powerful after every kill, when she did not see him kill a single fucking person in this timeline at all? She found corpses. In Halloween Kills, they're not in the same scene once. It's fucking asininely stupid, and it's condescending, the fact that they think it's okay to do that. Then, you get to the fucking, again, audacity of going to the next movie, Ends, takes place 4 years later. Literally a tenth of the amount of time since 3 of her friends were killed in high school, and then the guy was locked up for 40 years. Now, Michael's killed 40 people, including her daughter and her son-in-law, and Michael Myers... Okay, first of all, it's just fucking... it's so fucking stupid that Michael even remotely think... Like, why would he fucking just... Oh, I've killed, like, 48 people in one night. I'm just gonna go chill in a sewer for 40 years. It is dumber than Halloween 5 when he sleeps in a bum's fucking house. I know that's an oxymoron. It's dumber than Halloween 5's 1 year gap. By a lot. By 3 years worth, actually. You're telling me that Laurie just got over it all and was fine? If you watch the extended Halloween fucking Kills cut, at the end she says, "I'm coming for you, Michael." And then in this movie, after her daughter's death, a tenth of the time from the event, she's fine. She's finally gotten over it. Oh, when he was locked up in the insane asylum, I was stressed out, but now that he's out free and roaming, I'm fine. What the fuck? You are literally saying with your movie that you don't give a fuck about anything in the past movies, including your own fucking movie. How Does anyone like this fucking movie? It does not make sense. Oh, turn your brain off and watch it. No, I don't do that. Fuck. Then, again, with the whole idea of Laurie being able to, first of all, in Kills, when she says Michael, it's like every time he kills, he transcends to more power. When I was watching Halloween Kills, I assumed she was wrong, because she assumed Michael was coming for her that whole fucking movie, and Michael wasn't. If she can get his motive wrong, how the fuck does she know how his soul and power work? You don't even give a fuck, writers. You don't. You don't give a fuck about your fans either. You're an idiot. You're like, oh, Halloween 3 was an anthology. It did something different. So our third movie should do something completely different. Without any fucking regard for the fact that you built up a trilogy around this fucking movie. Without any regard that since 2018 came out and was, like, since you fucking released the idea that there was going to be 2 more movies after that, the whole fucking point was that it was going to end with a movie about Michael versus Laurie. Then you paint yourself in a dumb corner in Kills where Michael's painted to not give a fuck about Laurie. And first of all, Laurie's a fucking grandma, so there's nothing intriguing about the fight whatsoever at that point. No offense. You get to Ends, and you don't give a fuck about the story you've built up for 2 movies, building off of another movie. So we're in the 4th movie in your timeline, and you're just like, well, we don't give a shit about what we've built up towards. Here's this new story that has nothing to do with anything. And I get what you're trying to fucking do. Alright, Halloween 2018 had the best, like, shots and the best score and all this cool shit. It was literally just Halloween, the original again. Halloween Kills was just a bunch of fucking murders. The story didn't matter as much. And it was like a Friday the 13th. Boom. You did your Halloween 2. Laurie was in the hospital the whole time, all that shit. The thing that separates you in Ends from Halloween 3 is that Halloween 3 takes place in a separate timeline and does not negate anything that happened in the first 2 movies with its existence. Your movie, Halloween Ends, exists in the same fucking timeline, and therefore is reductive and has no right doing what it does and being its own fucking thing when it's supposed to be all building up to this movie, and nothing in this movie has been built up towards. It pisses me the fuck off. Oh, some nerdy douche is now powerful enough to fucking steal Michael's mask, even though he was beaten up by a bunch of fucking band kids. What the fuck? You've single-handedly taken the timeline that was easily probably the best timeline in the franchise, and then ruined it to the point where it's probably the worst now. For no good reason. There is not a single solitary reason on the face of the earth that justifies what you did with this new fucking movie. I'll get to the fucking end of this and move on to the next movie. I'm not done. Fuck. Michael kills, like, 2 people in this movie and has help with one of those kills. Michael literally loses a fight to some fucking dork off the street who's such a fucking narc he can't buy beer for some 18-year-olds. It's fucking infuriating. Like, oh my god, Corey Cunningham, such a great killer. Who the fuck wanted the 13th movie? Even if you're one of those fuckers that are like, oh, it's only the 4th movie in this timeline. Who the fuck wanted, in the movie called The End of this franchise, in the movie that was supposed to be the fucking ultimate ending between their 2 main characters from 44 fucking years, who actually wanted to go into this movie and see a story about a new fucking killer from that we've never fucking heard of? Who wanted that? Who fucking wanted to go into this movie and get something that was not even remotely marketed towards? Like, there's a reason that Jamie Lee Curtis said it was gonna piss off the real fans. If you like this movie, you're not a fucking Halloween fan, I'm sorry. Or you're such a blind Halloween fan that any Halloween movie that's slightly entertaining, you'll just accept, even if it's literally insulting to the fan base. It does not make fucking sense. I will move on now. I've said my piece. Fuck Halloween Ends so fucking much. The best part of the movie is the beginning when that little shit dies. That was cool. Everything else, there's some cool kills, but they're not done by Michael, and Michael is a little bitch compared to this new piece of shit killer who is literally a little bitch. Fuck this movie. Moving on. Number 12. Halloween Kills. All I have to say is Evil Dies Tonight. Every line of dialogue in Halloween Kills is so infuriatingly stupid that it does not make sense. It doesn't make sense. No human being speaks the way anyone in Halloween Kills speaks. The whole movie is Laurie in a hospital bed saying, Michael's coming for me. Michael's pure evil. Oh, Michael's this and that. I know everything about Michael. And then she doesn't know shit about Michael. My phone stopped recording, which is probably a good thing, because now I'm a little calmer. But Halloween Kills, back where I left off. Yeah, Laurie's talking about Michael like she knows everything about him all of a sudden. Talking about how every kill he transcends, even though he goes in a fucking sewer for 4 years after this one, even though he killed 44 people or some shit. Does not matter. I'm done with Ends. In this movie, it's really fucking stupid to have every single main character be so astronomically moronic that it's laughably stupid. You got fucking Lonnie taking his kid to go hunt a serial killer who is known to be more dangerous than your average serial killer. He's taking his kid and his kid's girlfriend off to go get them killed. You got Laurie, who's so fucking insane and stupid that she thinks Michael's after her, when he clearly isn't. And multiple people explain he isn't, and she still thinks he's fucking after her. And then we're supposed to think that her fucking dumb shit out of left field, out of nowhere, about him getting stronger every time he kills is real, when she's wrong about his basic motive. Why would she be right about anything in regards to how he works as a fucking beast? But nope, apparently as of the next movie, she's right on the money with that. It does not make sense. It's a stupid fucking movie. It's a stupid movie. No matter how you fucking run it, it is a stupid movie. And honestly, this movie wouldn't be this low if it wasn't directly attached to the one after it. Kills fucking blows, but when you keep in mind 2018 Kills and Ends and you think of it as like this trilogy, it's even more infuriating how bad Kills is. Because 2018 was good, and then Kills is like such a fucking mediocre flop piece of shit with all the fucking terrible dialogue and just straight up idiotic character decisions where they think this fucking 5'2" fucking fat crazy old guy who's not attacking anyone is Michael Myers. I don't care what you think about like mob mentality or meaning in horror movies. That's not the fucking issue. The issue is that it's illogical to the point of moronic. And it's everyone in this movie is fucking stupid. Everyone in this movie is so dumb that it's actually condescending and insulting to the fans of Halloween that we're supposed to go along this ride. Because they're assuming that we're dumb enough to not understand how dumb their characters are being. It's insulting. I'm going to stop here with Kills. Moving on. At number 11, we have Halloween 5. And now, Halloween 5, for years, was one of the most rewatchable, dumb, fun, turn your brain off, just watch an 80s slasher, have fun movies for me, personally. And then I watched it 2018, you know, whatever. right? And then I go through a lot of horrible shit in the past few years to where I'm not even happy on this planet anymore. And maybe that has something to do with it. I go and I rewatch Halloween 5 after the first 4 movies, and I like all 4 of those to some extent or another. Get to the 5th one, and I'm seeing flaws that I never saw before. There's always been flaws. I always hated the idea that Michael just slept on a dude's couch for literally a whole fucking year. It's not as bad as him being in a sewer for 4 fucking years, but it's almost that bad. It's moronic to the point of insufferable. And I never got the hate for Tina until this most recent rewatch, where I'm just taking note of everything she's doing. It's like she told the dog she was going to get the dog water, and then didn't, and then left. The fucking dog understands when you say you're going to get the dog water, and you just left? She's so fucking annoying. She's dating the biggest douchebag in the whole first 5 movies, and the only reason I don't say the whole franchise is because of the fucking dad in the 6th movie, but apart from him, maybe Loomis and Rob Zombie's 2nd movie, the fucking douchebag Michael she's dating is the biggest douchebag in any of these movies. They completely fuck over the ending of the 4th movie, which actually leads up to a very cool conclusion, but because of Friday the 13th 5, they don't do anything with the ending of Halloween 4. They're like, oh, well, if we do anything different, they're gonna hate us. So they do some fucking Halloween 5 bullshit, where, oh, the little girl who was going to have the same curse of, like, the fucking tainted mentality of Michael, she's just fine now. She's a little mute, but her stabbing her mother didn't do anything to affect her, and now she's the protagonist again, even though we ended the movie promising her to be the next antagonist. Whatever. Can you tell I don't like most of these movies? There's a reason that I think Halloween does not deserve to be in the big 3, because I think that Texas Chainsaw, Child's Play, and probably several other franchises more earn the 3rd and 4th place behind Freddy and Jason than Michael does, because there's just too many shitty installments in this franchise. And that's controversial, I know, I don't give a fuck. But Halloween 5 used to be way higher in my lists. And I don't know if it was just that hype after the 4th movie, but when I got to the 5th movie, I was in pain. And that was before I rewatched most of the shittier sequels. Like, once I got to 5 and it was bad, I was like, fuck, I remember this being the last good one for a while. Fuck. And then it just... oh my god. It's a bad movie. I still think Jamie's great, but she's mute for the whole movie. And of course, having little Jamie Lloyd be the main fucking character, there's more stakes because you want the kid to die less than you want the teens to die. That's just common sense. Unless you're a real sick fuck. But it just doesn't work after the 4th movie ends on such a fucking perfect note. To have the 5th movie just ignore that completely, throw all logic out the window, completely ruin Loomis's character, who's been consistently good through the 1st, 2nd, and 4th movie, and then the 5th movie, all of a sudden, he's a fucking psychopath. Now, it makes sense that he does not give a fuck about Jamie, when Jamie literally tried to kill her mother in the same way Michael killed his sister, but the way that Jamie's portrayed shows it in a very bad light with Loomis. Despite the fact that you understand, like, okay, if he views Jamie as just Michael 2.0, then he really shouldn't give a fuck about her life. But Jamie's presented as just a traumatized child in the 5th movie, as opposed to pure evil the 2nd, which is how she ended the 4th movie. And if she was still pure evil the 2nd, then Loomis treating her the way he does works. It makes sense. But they didn't follow through with that. They're like, hint at it, and then just, oh, nope, here's some more dumb shit. And it ruins Loomis's character. The movie's just stupid. There's some fun kills, but, like, that's not all that there is in a fucking slasher movie. I'm sorry. If you think that the kills are the only important thing in a slasher movie, You need to turn your fucking brain on when you're watching these movies. I'm sorry. It's kind of infuriating. It tanks this timeline completely. Speaking of, up next, a movie that I never in a million years thought I would rank above the two movies below it, but it happened. Curse of Michael Myers. And I'm not separating the cuts. There's 3 movies in this franchise that have multiple cuts. The Rob Zombie movies and Curse. And if you thought I was going to watch any of those movies twice in a row for a different cut, you're on crack. No, I watched the theatrical cut of Curse. I don't think I've even seen the producer's cut, and I don't give a fuck to, because I know the kills are worse. I know the story is actually presented in a way that makes sense, but the kills are worse, and they're barely enough to make me get through the movie anyway. So why the fuck would I want to watch a worse version of the movie? Because the story that I don't like makes more sense. Especially with that fucking Michael impregnating... You got fucking... Like, I'm honestly convinced Paul Rudd's not a human. And that his performance in Halloween 6 is his attempt at trying to figure out what a human does with his face. Because it just doesn't work. It's the worst acting I've seen in one of these movies, probably. I'm stretching that. I know I'm probably forgetting someone, but it's bad. And he's the fucking lead. And he's supposed to be Tommy Doyle from the first movie? I'm sorry. That kid wasn't that fucking weird. This whole timeline is stupid. They're trying to make someone more powerful than Michael by saying that they're the reason he is the way he is. And if you know, like, most of this video so far, like half of this video at least, was just me ranting about Halloween Ends, you know how I feel about making someone else more powerful than Michael in this fucking franchise. Don't. Halloween 6 is insufferable. It's a bad movie. It's a terrible fucking movie. I will say, Michael's performance as, like, Michael is great. The mask of Michael, top tier, or at least, like, top 3 Halloween masks. But that does not make a fucking Halloween movie, my friend. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. Even, like, 3 good kills does not make this movie good. It being the last movie in my marathon, and yes, I watched, like, almost all of these movies. Like, I watched 1 through 6, and then the next day, I watched up to Kills, and then I waited until Ends came out to watch it. So, by the time I hit 6, I had just come off of 5, and I was pissed off. Because I remember liking 5. And I get to 6, which I didn't like the last time I watched it. I get to it, and it is even worse than I remember. I hated it. I hate it. And we are, like, 4 movies into this ranking, and I still hate the movie I'm talking about. Letting that sink in for a second. The most insufferable characters, bar none, to this point in the ranking, that douchebag fucking radio reporter that I would kill myself, and the fucking prick piece of shit father in the Strode family. Oh, while we're on the subject, why the fuck is Michael going after the Strodes? They are not blood related to him. That's not in his MO. He has no reason to go after them besides the fact that their family adopted Laurie, and that's not even the same people. They've probably never even fucking met Laurie. But he's killing them, and all of a sudden one of their kids is fucking freaking out, like fucking Jamie. Oh, and the whole Jamie thing, recasting Jamie makes sense, because if they had Danielle Harris at that age doing this storyline, it would make everyone feel even grosser about the storyline. So recasting her adds a level of disconnect that's probably necessary to make people digest the new storyline. But it's still terrible what they do to her. She dies in the first third of the fucking movie, and she's the main character of the last two movies. What? I don't know. Halloween 6 is dumpster fire trash. Up next, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. And I will say, for ever since I first saw the movie, up until right before I watched it the last time I saw the movie, I considered Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 to be the worst movie in any major horror franchise, bar none. Worse than every Halloween movie, worse than every Friday the 13th, worse than every Nightmare, worse than every Wrong Turn, worse than everything. Literally. I hated Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. And maybe that's why, going into this most recent rewatch, I was expecting to hate it. And then when it wasn't as bad as the last few movies, I was like, oh, fuck. Maybe it's because several people in my life have died since the last time I watched it, so when it got to the whole grief and trauma of the situation, I could resonate with it more, and I had a better depth of understanding of death and grief, so I could appreciate the outlook of this movie more. I was more okay with them ruining Loomis and making Laurie a little bit less likable because I was more in the mindset of separating every timeline to where it's just the remake and this movie. That's all that exists in this timeline. They're not ruining original Loomis. They're ruining remake Loomis, who wasn't as good to begin with. But I still don't like the movie. Now, I did watch the theatrical cut because that's the only cut I own on DVD, and if you think I'm paying for that movie twice, you're on crack. Although, when I finished it, I did consider maybe, but still, fuck that, no. If someone gifts me the director's cut, that'd be great, but I'm not, no. Fucking, yeah, I will say, watching several videos that are like the difference between this cut and this cut, I like the idea, this is going to sound fucked up, I like the idea of it ending with Love Hurts more than it ending with the Halloween theme, because I like what Love Hurts stood for. I know people don't get that, but, like, it makes sense. Just because Michael comes from a broken family that is the perfect breeding ground for a psychopathic serial killer does not mean that there is not a single remnants of love in that fucking family. Michael's mother loves Michael, but she's such a fucking broken human being that the situation she raised him in crafted a serial killer. And Laurie, ending it with her listening to Love Hurts and a very, like, sad reminiscence of it was cathartic in a way. I didn't watch that cut, sadly, but I also fundamentally hate the "die" line. But then again, Kid Michael talks a lot in the remake, so you know, it's a different story. In the remake timeline, Michael is a flesh and blood human. In the original timeline, in the original movie, even if you ignore every sequel ever to be made, and the original movie is a standalone, Michael's not a fucking human. He is not. He gets shot 6 times in the chest, and then gets up and walks away. He gets stabbed in the fucking neck and is fine. Michael's not a human in the original timeline. Michael is a human in the remake timeline, which justifies the idea of there being a separate interpretation of the movie, which is why I like the remake. And I think anyone that likes the second movie in the remake timeline better than the first remake, I don't understand you. I don't. Sorry. I'm just saying. Like, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, I have a lot of thoughts on this movie because I hated it for so many years, and then I finally actually took the time to rewatch it with an open mind, because I watched a video where people were talking about it, and I was like, no, I'll give it a chance. Because even me, who hated it as much as I did, was defending some of the things people were saying in the live stream. And once I found myself defending the third thing, I was like, I should rewatch it. And I'm glad I did, because it's not the worst movie in this franchise. It's not even the second worst movie in this franchise. You know where I rank it now. And moving on to not beat a dead white horse, which I will say lastly, the white horse storyline is still the worst part of this fucking movie, but I now understand what it's saying about the psychology of these characters. I still think it's just a lame excuse to have Sheri Moon Zombie in the movie, even though in the last movie, she died. Hot take. Probably not a new take, but I understand it because there's the blackness and darkness of the evil of Michael, and then there's the white horse, which is the light side, which, you know, I have a yin-yang tattooed on my fucking leg. So I understand what they're going for there. But I don't know. This movie grew on me, but I still don't particularly like it. I'm going to rewatch it more just to see if I get more appreciation for it, but like, I don't know. I still think that part of the reason I don't hate it as much as I used to is because I went into it expecting to hate it, and coming off of worse movies when it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, it made me like it more than I probably would have. So I don't know. Eventually, I'll concrete my fucking opinions on this movie, but it's a fucking crazy fucking movie. I will say, I have a crush on Scout Taylor Compton in these two movies. Anywho, moving on, for real this time. Number 8, Halloween Resurrection. Now, if you completely get an editing software, you edit out the first part of the movie where they fuck the ending of the last movie and kill Laurie Strode, cut that all out. Then you go through and you cut out every frame of film that has Busta Rhymes in it. Then you have one of the best movies. But every time I see Busta Rhymes, I want to beat him to death in this movie. I swear to God. Every time Busta Rhymes comes on screen, I just fill with hatred. Because, like, what the fuck? You don't just create a character who is fundamentally not a good dude. He's a producer on a reality TV show who is purposely faking everything in the TV show to manipulate people into getting views. And he's so dumb, he doesn't let his cast in on that fact to fucking successfully do it while it's live. And you're gonna have that douchebag character, the kind of character that you'd kill at the beginning of the third act, and you only wait that long so it's more when he dies. That's what that character's for. Then you have him be the fucking hero of the movie and beat the shit out of Michael Myers? Are you fucking kidding me? Who the fuck thought that was a good idea? And fuck you if you're one of the people that thought it was a good idea. What the fuck? But, like I said, edit that completely out of the movie. The concept of this movie is the first movie since the first movie where Michael is remotely creepy. In the second movie, when they said Michael only goes after family, they added a distinct layer of complete disconnect from the audience and the situation at hand. You can no longer put yourself in Laurie's shoes because you know you're not related to Michael Myers. You can't put yourself in Jamie Lloyd's shoes because you're not related to Michael Myers. You can put yourself in the shoes of these douchebags fucking around in Michael's house and him killing them. As a youth up until 2018 came out, I've always thought of Halloween as a few tiers lower than most horror franchises for that distinct reason, is that there's a fucking huge disconnect where you have to be related to someone who's murdered someone in your family to even remotely relate to any of the main characters in this or put yourself in their shoes. Michael is not scary because you don't know a Myers or Strode, so you're fine. It's not a situation that you can put yourself in. But when Michael's pure evil, the embodiment of evil, he's not fucking going after family, he's just killing anyone in his path, then, oh fuck, you can put yourself in those shoes. And this is the first movie since the original to even remotely touch that ground. And I like that. I like the idea of it being a fucking reality show, because I grew up on Total Drama. I know, I'm aging myself, whatever. I love that show. And I like the concept of a bunch of fucking idiots going into Michael Myers' house with camcorders on their heads and fucking kicking the fucking bear. I think that's way better than, oh, Michael's fucking going after his fucking third cousin twice removed again. I'm sorry. That's just how I feel. I don't see the point. And I'll get it more into what I feel about the fucking sibling angle later, but I always liked Resurrection more than most people just for that fucking sole purpose, is that it's not Michael going after family again. We're past that point. That's done and over with. And as far as complaining about the beginning of this movie fucking the ending of the last movie, remember, they fucking filmed the beginning of this movie when they filmed H2O, so it's not, like, as far as, like, the whole ambulance driver, in order to, like, legally, in order for them to do the ending they wanted to do in H2O, they legally had to film the way they could undo it for the next sequel. So it's entirely H2O's fault. The beginning of this movie fucks the ending of H2O. That is a fact. Do I think they unceremoniously killed Laurie Strode? Yeah, but who gives a fuck at this point? They already did that in Halloween 4, which is a better movie. I don't know. The worst part of this movie, to me, has nothing to do with that. It's literally, the worst part of this movie is Busta Rhymes. I think that he shouldn't have been in this movie, and I think that if he was in this movie, he should have been killed. I think the worst sin this movie does, bar none, is when fucking Busta Rhymes talks shit to Michael Myers, tells him to fuck off, and then Michael fucks off. This is coming from the guy that absolutely loves it in Texas Chainsaw Next Generation when she says, "You sit the fuck down," and he sits down. That makes sense. Leatherface is not there, and he's used to being bullied, and that makes sense to me. Michael Myers is the embodiment of pure evil. You do not tell him to fuck off. He will not fuck off. Fuck you, whoever wrote that, directed that, edited that, everyone on set that did not tell the director, you can't do that. Fuck you. I'm getting pissed off over nothing right now. I'm gonna move on. Number 7, the movie that climbed my ranking the most since I rewatched it, Halloween H2O. Now, back in 2018, when I rewatched all of the movies and then went and saw 2018, y'all know what my last favorite was. It was Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. My next least favorite was H2O. Let me explain before you flip out, because now it's 7th place. It's a post-Scream Halloween movie, which means they're going to take everything that Scream got wrong and glorify it, while not understanding anything that Scream got right. There's no good kills. Every kill that's remotely cool is off-screen. The skate in the face, that's all I can think of. Every other kill is tame as fuck compared to the kills in the other movies. The characters, they're kind of insufferable. Like, I understand what they're going for with some of them, but a lot of them are just generic late 90s goofballs. If that's your thing, that's your thing. But the thing about the post-Scream movies is that none of them are as good as Scream 1 and 2. None of them. They're all taking the worst things about that genre and doing that without doing any of the good things. Like, the great things about Scream is the realism, the relatability of the characters, the satire, the humor, the real, like, again, like, just the psychological, in-depth, like, fucking creepiness of the killers. None of that is in a post-Scream movie besides Scream 2. None of it. In this movie, instead, you got the completely neutered kills. The fucking it's a teen drama, first and foremost, bullshit. The best part of Halloween H2O is that you see a normal human actual version of Laurie, as opposed to the 2018 timeline where she's way beyond the reality of what a normal human being would be like after that. In H2O, it makes sense, it's legit. They're saying a lot about how trauma affects family life after that, and how PTSD can be something that you project onto your kids that fucking further fucks up their life. I know I could have worded that better. But in all actuality, H2O, it's kind of boring. I'm going to be honest. It literally... Okay, listen. H2O tries to have the same pacing as the original movie, but because it's not from the same era, it does not have the tension or build-up to justify that pacing. So it gets boring really fucking quickly. And it's the only movie I can think of where boring comes to mind. I'm sorry if you're those H2O purists, but it's not my cup of tea, honestly. It just isn't. I'm gonna move on now. Now we're at number 6, and my number 6 used to be a lot higher, but then I rewatched it this most recent time, and that's Halloween 2018. Now, fun story. I was never a gigantic Halloween fan. I think I saw the remake first, and then I saw some of them on AMC, and eventually I got to the rest of them. But basically, that thing about the family dynamic, I never liked it, because to me it inherently made Michael more pathetic. Even if you're not thinking about the remake, get that out of your mind. Think about just the idea of a human being that's sole focus and purpose in their life is to kill everyone in their bloodline. There is some level of self-hatred or an inability to deal with their own family traumas that is inherently pathetic, to where their only way of dealing with it is to destroy their family. I can't think of a better word for it. It's pathetic. That's why Michael Myers is not in my top 20 slasher villains. I'm sorry, I know, a lot of you Halloween fans probably stopped watching the video. I don't give a fuck, honestly. But that's why it took until Halloween 2018's trailer dropped, and they said, yeah, Michael's not related to Laurie, and I was like, wait, what? And then I re-looked into it, and I remembered, oh yeah, that was introduced in the second movie. And that, my friends, is when I rewatched the first movie and actually got it. Before that, I didn't like the first movie as much as most of the other movies, but now it's better than almost all of them. And it was that simple shift. I completely agree with John Carpenter. The second movie ruins the franchise. Notice it still hasn't popped up, so quit your fucking bitching. But Halloween 2018, on its own merit, in hindsight, now that I've had the 2 sequels to it, Halloween 2, or not Halloween 2, I guess it's Halloween 2 in this timeline. Halloween 2018, the characters are just so douchey, and like, ugh, fuck you. I don't like you. Like, I don't like most of the characters. I like Allison. Her taste in men is horrible, and that's the only thing that's really consistent throughout the whole trilogy, is that Allison's taste in men is fucking horrible, but Oscar's fun, and I love the kills in Halloween 2018. The kills in Halloween 2018 are top-tier Halloween kills. Like, the fucking jaw and the fucking... just the way the framing works, where, like, the annoying bitch, is walking by the gas station and you can see Michael doing this in the background. It's so perfectly framed and shot, and that's why this one is the reboot of the first movie, and Kills is the reboot of the second movie, and Ends is the reboot of the third movie, even though they should not have done that at all. Because they're... Like, I already went into that. It's stupid to try and make the story about something else and still have it be in the same timeline when it's in the third part of a trilogy that everything's been building to. If you're gonna do your own thing, do your own thing. Don't fucking call it Halloween Ends and market it as the conclusion of a trilogy. Different story. Halloween 2018 was my favorite, aside from my top two, for a long time. But with this most recent rewatch, I'm just like, ugh. Everyone is so douchey and unlikable. There's several characters that I'm just like annoyed with. I do like the two that are babysitting that little kid, and Allison. Yeah, that's it. Oscar's fun. I like the scene when he's caught in that dude's front yard and he's talking to Michael like, you ever had a girl you couldn't have? I like that character too. Everyone else in that movie is insufferably annoying. I hate them all. And I'm so glad they all die. I like the idea of a character being the complete antithesis of Dr. Loomis, and instead of working all this time to try and stop the evil, this one's working all this time to try and like be that evil and understand that evil. It's kind of interesting. Laurie Strode is completely unrealistically fucking crazy in this movie. No human being, 40 years after three of their friends die, is still that fucking affected by it. I don't care who you are, especially if the guy, like, if Michael was a quarter of as intimidating as he was in the other timelines, it would make sense. But in this timeline, he somehow gets fucking arrested after the events of the first movie, which completely negates all of his power from the first movie, and says that, oh, if you have enough cops, you can arrest him. Which just... what? So, like, Michael's not as intimidating, even though now he's finally, for the first time, intimidating. On the first time watch of Halloween 2018, it was the first time I was actually intimidated by Michael Myers. Because pure evil embodied into the fucking core of a human being, and just pure fucking evil. Come on, that's fucking... Like, of course that's kind of creepy. Of course, when you're walking home in the middle of the night, you're going to be a little creeped out by the thought of just an evil fucker coming to try and kill you. If you're like me, then you have a knife and you're fucking ready, but, like... Michael Myers can't die, so there's that, like, it's a whole fucking thing. It's a whole fucking thing. But there's some just dumb fucking comedy in this movie. I don't want to go on and on and on about the new timeline at all, but, you know, there's that whole fucking chestnut. I guess I'll move on. My number 5 is the original Halloween 2. The sibling twist ruins the franchise. Like I said, it wasn't until the trailer for Halloween 2018 when I actually appreciated the first movie for what it is, because of the second movie's twist. That is 40 fucking years. I've already gone into the idea of it, Michael Myers being pathetic in the other timelines. Or at least in the H2O timeline, because Curse makes it not about his mental psychology of why he's doing it. It makes it more about, like, a mythical thing forcing him to do it. Whereas in the H2O timeline, we're meant to believe there's something we don't know about that makes Michael so neurotically pathetic that he has to kill everyone in his family. But anyway, all that aside, in Halloween 2, it is... You're gonna hate me. It's a shitty Friday the 13th ripoff with the skin of a Halloween movie, even though it's not a fraction as good as the first Halloween movie. I'm sorry. The final girl, Laurie, is in a hospital bed for all of the movie. None of the characters other than her are other than her and Loomis, are even remotely as memorable as, like, the 57th person killed by Jason Voorhees. Off the top of my head, I don't know who that is, but trust me, I mean it. Fucking, like, it's like Halloween saw Friday the 13th, and they were like, oh shit, that's actually, like, really cool. Let's do that with Michael Myers. It wasn't necessary. In fact, if you completely didn't have Halloween 2, then Halloween 3 wouldn't have been as hated as it was, and we would have gotten a franchise of complete horror original classics under the title of Halloween. Yes, I'm still bitter about that, and I wasn't even alive. But I still enjoy the movie for being a fucking bad Friday the 13th ripoff. And I understand the irony in what I'm saying. You don't need to comment, like, Friday the 13th was a ripoff of Halloween. It had its own original story. It focused on completely different aspects of the slasher genre than Halloween did. The killer is better. Fuck, I don't care what you say. And yes, I'm talking about Mrs. Voorhees. The characters are more relatable and fun. I'm sorry, but I'm not. I like Friday the 13th more than Halloween. And Halloween 2 is just Halloween's answer to Friday the 13th. It's just a bunch of kills. That's why Halloween Kills is just a bunch of kills. Because they're just ripping off Halloween 2. Which is ripping off Friday the 13th, which is ripping off Halloween, which is ripping off Black Christmas, which is fucking whatever. We can go on and on and on. It does not matter. The point that I'm making is that Halloween 2... I like Halloween 2. But I hate what it did to the franchise, because after this, every single installment, except for Resurrection and the new timeline, kept the same fucking tired bullshit of Michael going after his family, and there's no connect between the audience and the main character at that point, unless you're gonna just completely fucking turn your brain off. Because you should have a grasp on what your own family history is. You would know if you had a family member like Michael Myers in your family. Literally, in order to relate to a character in the later Halloween movies, you have to relate to a side character. And just think of it as, oh, I know someone whose family member is going around killing people. And then the character you're relating to dies before the third act. Like, am I alone in that? Or is there anyone else who sees it that way? Like, my fucking camera cut out again. I think I'm running out of room, which is pissing me off, because I don't even know if I'm going to be able to fucking edit or export these videos, but whatever. None of anything matters. But yeah, no. I think Halloween 2 is some dumb fun, has some good kills, but it's not better. It's not as good as the ones above it. Next up, number 4, is Rob Zombie's Halloween remake. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, if you think original Michael Myers with the sibling angle is pathetic, how do you like new Michael Myers with a sibling angle? Because this version of Michael Myers is a human. When you do a remake, when you do a completely new timeline, ignoring everything, including the original, you have the right to fuck around. Michael Myers in the original is not human. Don't fucking argue with me about that. Okay? I don't. He is not human. He is the embodiment of pure evil. Therefore, doing another interpretation where you tell the same story where he is human, and you explain his actions, and you go further into the reasoning behind why he kills his family and why he does what he does, and you humanize him to this point, It's really fucking interesting. I honestly think the best part of this movie is the section with Kid Michael. And I hear a lot of people say that's the only part they don't like. And you know what? Okay, whatever. I don't get that, but sure. I know the dialogue can be atrocious. I mean, I will crawl over there and I will skull fuck the shit out of you. Okay, calm down. I get that, but you cannot expect someone to grow up in a situation where they snap to the point of killing everyone in their family without it being a situation that is that traumatizing. If you're going to humanize Michael, which is what the second movie did by adding M.O., fight me. The second movie humanized Michael. If you're going to tell the original story and you're going to delve into that storyline of the sibling angle, and you're retelling it, you have the freedom to change everything. And I think the remake did a fucking fantastic job. I love the remake. Like, young Michael is creepy as fuck. The look that he gives is freakier. Like, when he's getting arrested and driven away, the look when he looks out the window and stares at you like you're the next victim, that's creepier than anything any Michael has done. If you just look at the vibe of that stare he gives you. Fight me. Him beating the shit out of the Spy Kid and killing him, pure fucking gold. I love it. Of course, someone who's raised by a mom who's neglectful and who's willing to date a piece of shit like Ronnie and does not give a fuck about what that does to her kids. Of course, someone like that, at this point in their life, is going to come out with a kid as fucked up as Michael. Of course, someone with a piece of shit sister like Judith in this franchise, or in this timeline, is gonna kill her. That's... Obviously, at the end of that 30-minute chunk where you're with Kid Michael, you're on his side. Of course he should kill those people. They're awful. It makes sense. It's logical that he would kill them. Then you get into the whole part where you're diving into, like... And I watched, like... I've seen the theatrical cut 1,000 times. I've seen the director's cut a couple times. I don't like the difference between the escape scenes. I hate it. The escape scene in the theatrical is a million times better. But the part in the unrated cut that has Loomis and Michael going into that, where he's like pretending to not remember anything, and then he just slowly loses his mind to the point where he like, they explain it so well, where he's a human, but his psychology is that of like, he doesn't like or trust anyone because he's never had someone to confide in or to love, or who loves him really, besides his mother. Hence the song Love Hurts, because her version of love is warped. The fact that he goes through all of this, like, he slowly shuts down and he puts his entire soul deep, deep, deep within himself, and he shuts himself off from everyone, and he stops communicating with anyone. And it has to do with Danny Trejo. It's like, the walls in your mind, like, or like, whatever the fuck he says about going in your mind, there's no walls can stop you there. He internalizes himself to the point where he stops communicating, he shuts himself off from everyone, and he has no emotional, like, he has no way of reaching out. He has no concept of reaching out and asking for help because he was called homosexual slurs and beaten and abused whenever he showed any emotion. So, of course, he fucking warps to the point of, like, resisting that at all costs and not communicating whatsoever. He's a ball of rage, and he has no fucking emotions, because if he shows a single emotion, that's weakness. And the second you acknowledge his weakness, he's going to beat you to fucking death. This Michael is human Michael in the best way. Remake Michael will rip your fucking dick off. Like, I love the remake. I think it's one of the best movies in the franchise, hence it being at number 4 out of 13. Yes, I know. I still don't get people that put the second movie above the first movie, when in the first movie of the Halloween remake timeline, there's likable characters. In the second movie, there isn't. Laurie's hot, but in the first movie, she's also likable. I don't get that. Like, I don't. I will never get that. I actually think Laurie is more likable and relatable in the remake timeline. If you would just take the remake, not the second movie, but if you just take the remake, she is like the people I went to high school with. Laurie in the original is not. She's like on the opposite. Like, I am the kind of guy with a mohawk who got drunk every weekend. Of course, I'm going to hang out with Laurie from the remake, and I probably wouldn't even hang out with Laurie from the original. So that's just a matter of generations and, like, social status. Laurie in the remake is more relatable and likable to me. Sorry. But I don't know. I just think the remake is fucking fantastic. I love the remake. Not to mention the fucking kills. They're so much better than most of the kills up to that point. When you're marathoning them... By the way, when you're marathoning these movies, I hated 5, I hated 6, 7 was meh, I hated 8, and then I finally got to the remake, and it was the first movie in 5 movies that I enjoyed. So, there's also that. I could probably go on and on about this movie and the next 3 movies, and I'll probably have a few more things to say, but I want to come to a close on the remake part. There's just... It's a very hot movie. It's gruesome as fuck. It delves into the psychology of an actual psychopath serial killer in a real way and shows a real version of Michael Myers as opposed to the completely supernatural and fictional version we get in the original movie and the original timeline, where he's the embodiment of pure evil. That's cool. We have that movie. We have the sequels to that movie. We should not look for that in this remake. A remake does not exist to tell you the same fucking thing again. And this remake succeeds in that. Like, this remake, to me, exemplifies, like, what a remake does. It's the same plot, different story. Sorry, I'm just so used to people hating on this movie, and I'm like, I can't comprehend anyone that likes the sequel to the remake and doesn't like the remake. That does not make any fucking sense to me whatsoever. Because the whole idea of the sequel to the remake is diving further deep into the psyche of human Michael, and you have to get through the first fucking movie to even have a human version of Michael. What? Whatever. I don't want to fucking argue about it in the comments. I probably won't read it if I look in the tone of the vibe I get is negative. I probably won't read it. So, just know that. But, Rob Zombie's Halloween is easily better than every movie to come after it, and most of the movies that came before it. But there's still 3 I like more. I'm not a psychopath. I like the original and a couple others more. At number 3 is Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. I didn't expect this to be this high going into this, to be honest. But if you just think, I want to watch an 80s slasher that takes place in Halloween, Halloween 4 is your best option. Because Halloween 3 isn't a slasher. Halloween 4 is like Halloween 1, but it's post the Friday the 13th era, where slashers have found what makes slashers. Sorry. I like my fucking sex and gore. Yes, I still put the Halloween 1 above this, so don't freak out, but Halloween 4, I love it, because Rachel, phenomenal final girl. Then you got Jamie, and the whole idea of an innocence that needs protecting from pure evil is an idea that's very resonant, especially, it's the same idea as the original. Laurie is babysitting 2 children, and Michael is pure evil. Pure evil versus innocent, and the person protecting them from it. But this time, Michael is, like, in the first movie, Michael's never going for the kids. He's never attacking the kids. He's never trying to kill the kids. He's trying to kill the babysitter. So the innocence being protected is really to support Laurie as a character because you care for her because she's protecting innocence. But in the fourth movie, Michael is actually going after that innocence, which adds a level of tension that is not there in the original. Again, the original hasn't popped up yet. I like it more than 4. But what I'm saying is that it works on a different level. At no point watching the original movie did I think for a second the kids were in danger. In Halloween 4, you know from the start that his target is that kid. I fucking love Rachel. I love the whole story. I love the fucking fuck off Wade. That's hilarious. And the cops do it by the book shirt, like that aged like fine wine. But yeah, no. I love that Michael shoves a shotgun through that bitch. That was awesome. I love the complex characters. Like, Brady is a very complex character, because on the one hand, he's cheating on his girlfriend, so you immediately, and his girlfriend's the main character whose side you're on, so you're like, fuck that dude. But you're like, fuck that dude on a superficial teenage drama level, right? So if he does the right thing, he can redeem himself. And then, when everyone's dying, he's got the shotgun, and he's ready to die for her, but he's also saying, let's not look for the kid. Fuck that. If the cops are dead, she's dead, let's leave. And that, to me, like, anyone who says Brady redeems himself is not watching the same movie. Because that, to me, was when he crossed the line past, okay, you're irredeemable. He's willing to just leave Jamie, a 10-year-old kid, or 8-year-old, I don't fucking remember, but like 8 to 10-year-old kid. He's willing to leave her for dead. The only reason he stops Michael with a shotgun and is too stupid to fucking reload it, whatever, that's not the point. The only reason he stops and has his hero moment is to protect his ex. His motives are getting laid. Oh, he's a hero because he stopped to save her. He was ready to fucking leave Jamie for dead moments before that. I'm sorry, I just can't get past the idea that anyone thinks Brady actually redeemed himself. He evened himself out, maybe, but he did not earn good person points for me. But, yeah, no, I fucking love it. I think the performance of Michael, like George P. Wilbur is top-tier Michaels. Yes, the mask is shit, whatever. I don't think it's nearly as bad as people make it out to be. Maybe that's because, the fifth mask is so... or the fifth movie's mask is just so much worse than the fourth movie's mask that, like, the fourth movie's mask is fucking fine. But maybe that's just me. I don't know. It's not as good as, like, 1 or 6 or Resurrection, and yes, I like Resurrection's mask, that's whatever. Or the remake. But it's like, 4 is fine as far as the masks go. That's a whole other fucking video. But yeah, no, I love the fourth movie. The characters are fun. It's a fun, dumb slasher movie, but it's better than the second movie. It's expanding on the ideas from the second movie with the family angle and using it in a new way that's actually effective. Because even if you can't put yourself in Jamie's position, or you might be able to put yourself in Rachel's position. Like, say you got a new adoptive sister, or you were watching, even if you were just babysitting the kid, you can put yourself in that position where you have to defend this kid from pure evil. And you gotta die doing it. Like, it's your moral obligation. And at that point, it negates my complaints about not being able to put yourself in the shoes of the protagonist, because you gotta do what you gotta do to keep the innocence alive on this planet. It's fundamental stuff. It's deep core root stuff, and that's why Halloween 4 is by far the best sequel that actually has Michael in it. Not to mention the fucking insane ending, where it's like a psychological inheritance, or maybe a generational curse, or maybe a literal curse if you're going with a fucking sequels to the fourth movie, where after Michael's defeated, ignore Halloween 5, say Halloween 5 never happened. Michael's defeated, and then Jamie is affected psychologically to the point where she snaps and goes to kill her stepmother, showing that the what do you call it? The hereditary illness of Michael to Jamie, that now she's warped. You spend this whole movie, like, if you're in Rachel's shoes, you just live through hell protecting this kid who you assume is pure innocence, as opposed to the pure evil you were protecting her from, only to find out at the end that she's afflicted by that evil too. And there's a darkness to her too. And then she is attacking you and your family, even though you were protecting her. And now she is, like, that whole ending, it twists the whole thing on its head, and it's so much deeper, in such a deeper level. I honestly, I sincerely want to make a sequel to this movie. I probably won't, because I shat on so many of the installments in this franchise, but I want to make the sequel to this movie. I want to explain my storyline I have in mind, in case I can't make the movie legitimately, so I can still make my fan film without someone else taking my storyline. But I have an idea for that, and I've had that idea for months. Probably over a year, actually. And now we're in our top 2, and we have the 2 original movies left. My number 2 is the original Halloween. Fight me. I loved this movie, and when I first watched it, I couldn't get through it. Just another story to further dig the hole of, despite my great idea for a sequel to Halloween 4, if the producers watch this, they'll never fucking greenlight it. I literally got like halfway through Halloween the first time watching it, and because I was in the mindset of the sibling angle, I wasn't viewing Michael as pure evil. I was viewing him as some dude that wants to kill his whole family, which, again, I deeply disrespect on a fundamental level, because that means that he has no concept of how to deal with his own inner demons and deal with his traumas as a result of his family, and he instead lashes out on his whole family, and I think that's pathetic. So with that mindset, the movie was just not interesting to me, because it wasn't playing with that in a way that helped that storyline. And it wasn't until 2018 came out when I watched it and saw him as pure evil embodied, and then it was creepy as fuck that he was in the background of every scene. But the first time I watched it, before I understood what was behind the love for the movie, I stopped watching it. And then I watched Wrong Turn 6. Now, this was the first time I watched it, so I didn't know how bad the movie I put in instead was at that point. It was literally, I was in a video store, and I might cut this part out. I was in a video store, and I saw Wrong Turn 6, and if you know me and this channel, you know I love that franchise. I was like, there's a 6th one? And immediately rented it. I was watching Halloween on VHS. I got bored. I was like, whatever. I took it out, and I was like, all right, let's watch Wrong Turn 6. Because I had seen the first 5. I did not know how objectively bad 6 was. And I had a fun time laughing at how stupid the fucking movie was. Eventually, I actually watched Halloween 1, and I will say right now, definitively, it's better than Wrong Turn 3 onward. I'll tell you that right now. I don't like Wrong Turn 6 more than Halloween. I'm just saying, 15-year-old me, or 14, 15-year-old me, didn't have the attention span. But when you keep in mind that in the original movie, Michael is not going after his family. The whole opening kill of him killing his sister is just to exemplify that he is pure evil, that he would kill anyone. It's the same thing as the Danny Trejo kill. He'll kill anyone. The point was never that he's killing his family. Him killing a family member in the beginning was just to show that he's so far gone into pure evil that no one is safe. That's all that did. And then you get to him stalking these babysitters, and it shows that he's pure evil because his whole MO is going after people who are protecting innocence. It goes back to what I was saying about the fourth movie, only now, in Halloween 1, you never really for an instant think the kids are in any danger. So that's gone. But the framing of this movie, the way Loomis is used and portrayed, the way it's all done is so fucking eerie. Like, Michael is in the background more than you think he is. Unless you've seen the movie more than I have. But, like, he's in the background a lot. His presence is always there. He's looming in the background. And the fact that he can strike at any time, it's fucking eerie. The fact that the fucking music is perfect, obviously. There's not a lot I can say that hasn't been said, but, like, the whole exemplification of him being pure evil, but also him being a white slate, a blank mask. Like, the reason I say he's pure evil is because he is everything evil you can think of, because if you take the original movie on its own merit and say nothing else happened, nothing, not the new timeline, none of the timelines, just the original. Because he's a blank slate, you can project and paint your own picture of what's behind that white mask onto him. And that, to me, is why Halloween inspired the slasher genre. Yes, there was proto-slashers before that, but what you do to write a slasher is you take the formula of Halloween and you fill in Michael with a psychology. Mrs. Voorhees, a broken woman who's lost her child and wants to kill to protect children from being harmed. The Burning. You got a guy who has been tormented and fucking robbed of his looks and his nerves, literally, by teenagers and is lashing out. You take that blank slate, that pure white canvas of Michael, and you put anything in it, you have the formula for a slasher. Slashers can tell a million stories. The story is who the killer is, who survives, who dies, and what's the difference between who survives and who dies, and how does that reflect on the killer. Boom. There. You have a morality tale or a story. There's something there. You can tell a million stories with that formula, and it all starts with Michael being a blank slate of pure evil that you can project anything onto. And anyone projecting anything onto him is why you can have a slasher movie. That's why Halloween works. That's why when Sean S. Cunningham said, Halloween's making a lot of money, let's rip it off. Honestly, I like Friday the 13th more. I can relate to Pamela Voorhees. I can relate to the fucking counselors. The counselors are more entertaining to me than Laurie and her friends, because they're more relatable. The most relatable thing that the characters in Halloween do is smoke a joint. I'm sorry, I don't babysit. Fucking... Like, Halloween is not my favorite slasher movie, but you have to respect it for what it is. I don't hear enough people talking about the idea of you just projecting your own inner demons onto Michael and then write a slasher based on solely that ideal. Boom. You have a slasher movie. An original slasher movie that is your own concept because it's your own demons. And that is why you have a billion slasher movies in the 80s and 90s. They all follow the same formula that is set in Halloween. Yes, Black Christmas, Psycho, Peeping Tom, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, fucking... all these fucking horror movies from 1960 to 1977. They all have elements of a slasher movie. But Halloween's the first one to fucking set the formula and make it concrete. And the formula, like, everyone says Halloween's the father of the slasher, even though all these movies came before it. because no one is like Michael was in that first movie, where he is the exemplification of a slasher villain because there's no motive, there's no MO, there's nothing there. He's just killing these people. And if you boil it down to its bare minimum thing and don't put any thought into story, that's what a slasher is. But the farther you get into building an actual psychology off of that, the closer, like, that is a slasher movie. Is trying to make a human character that fills the shoes of Michael Myers. Basically what I'm saying is every slasher villain after Michael Myers is someone trying to figure out Michael Myers. That is why it is the best movie with the fucking character. I don't know if anyone even got to this point of the video, but there you fucking go. I know I'm a pretentious asshole. Fuck you. Number 1 is Season of the Witch. I just love the movie. It's just dumb fun. I love the concept. It's darker than any of the Halloween movies. Yeah, in Halloween 4 and 5, a little kid is in danger, but in Halloween 3, every kid in America is in danger. And what it says about humanity as far as, like, our relation to television programming, which is called programming because it programs you to think a certain way. Tell-a-vision. It's called that for a fucking reason, dude. And the fact that they're combining witchcraft with television is so fundamentally creepy, eerie, and real that it goes under your skin. And, like, thinking of it in terms of, like, a parent's point of view, knowing, like, the end of the movie, turn it off! Turn it off! Like, his kids are watching. His kids are getting warped in the mind. Literally, their minds are being turned into fucking bugs and snakes because of the television and the fucking subliminal messaging, and they're adding witchcraft to it, but it's saying so much more than that. Halloween 3 is my favorite Halloween movie. And I know you're thinking, how is Halloween 3 your favorite and Halloween Ends is your least favorite? Because Halloween 3 is not trying to conclude the story of the first 2 Halloween movies. The story was fucking concluded when Michael and Loomis burned to death. Halloween 3 is its own fucking thing. They didn't want to make a second Michael Myers movie. If they didn't do that, if they did what they wanted to do and went from 1 to 3, we'd have a million classics. I'm not mad about that because I like enough of the sequels to be okay with it, but, like, Halloween 3, like, the deep meaning behind it aside, the hilarity of it is fucking insane. Like, our main character is like a 40-year-old dude who is a co-parent with his divorcee and decides, you know what? I'm gonna leave my kids with you. I don't need to see them for the week leading up to Halloween. I'm gonna go solve a random mystery with a 6-pack and a 19-year-old. Like, what the fuck? It's so, like, it's such a splash in the face with cold water that it's you can't help but just laugh at the concept of it. But then the deeper into the layers you get, it's super funny. It's super dark. Like, the whole concept of the fact that they're going to try and sacrifice every child on the planet. Well, not every child on the planet. Every child that gets that station, every child in America, is going to literally be killed by, like, their mask growing bugs, spiders, snakes, and just completely destroying their brain and their head. Meta. I don't know if meta is the right word, but, like, the TV is literally melting their brain and destroying it. There's so much to Halloween 3. It's so much. And say what you will about the ending of Halloween, where it's like, oh my god, He's inhuman and unstoppable, and he's everywhere and nowhere at once. Cool. Some more babysitters might get stabbed. At the end of Halloween 3, most of the children in America die. Let that sit in for a second. There's 3 stations that are showing the giveaway. He gets 2 of them off the air. He can't stop the 3rd station. I know. Halloween 3 is my favorite Halloween movie. Endless fun. There's so much humor behind the ridiculousness of some of the storylines, but it's just an underlying, there's just this creepy feeling, and there's just this unsettling nature to it. Plus, the whole idea of it being like this Illuminati organization that, like, you can't fucking stop them. He kills the leader of their organization and most of the robots that are working for him. I'm not even going to get into the whole, like, juxtaposition between, like, actual robots and the metaphorical robots that are idiots that are working for the Illuminati and all that shit. That's beside the point. The fact that he kills them all and then still fails to stop their programming from warping the minds of children till their death. Halloween 3 is infinitely meaningful, hilarious, unsettling. It's my favorite Halloween movie. Fight me. Well, that's my Halloween ranking. I know everyone's going to hate me for that, but I don't give a shit. Everyone hates me already. So, happy Halloween and all that shit.